Hello everybody and welcome to today's lesson about correcting people's writing. Normally I ask you to send me some writing, so you are definitely welcome this week, next week, whenever you can, to submit and to send me some of your writing, because my intention is to correct your writing. However, today I am using some material from the Cambridge exams and it's an essay type question. But however, I would definitely prefer you to send me some material, and that would be much better, I think. So today, as I said, I'm using some material from a book, and here you can see a sample answer for writing. It's a sample answer for an essay, and it's very interesting. So first we have the question for the essay, and then we will look at the student's or the candidate's answer for an essay question. Yes, there are some errors, there are some mistakes here in relation to vocabulary and grammar. So I will try to identify the mistakes and at the same time try to show you how to correct, in particular for an exam. You can see the comments at the bottom. Remember last week we explained the criteria for the writing assessment in the Cambridge exams. The first criteria is content, the second criteria is communicative achievement, third criteria is organization, and the final criteria is language. So you can see the maximum score is 5, and this candidate had 3, 3, 3, and 4. So not bad, but I want to try and help and correct this work. If you have a question during the lesson, you can put the question in the Facebook chat, and hopefully I can answer any questions or doubts that you have. Simply put the question here and I will be able to answer any comment that you have. Okay, let's begin. So here is the question. Basically, the question is, in your English class, so I'll make this a little bit bigger. In your English class, you have been talking about the environment. Now your English teacher has asked you to write an essay. Write an essay using all the notes given and giving reasons for your opinion. So basically use all the notes and give an opinion, give reasons for your opinion. So the question is, every country in the world has problems with pollution and damage to the environment. Do you think these problems can be solved? You must write about transport, rivers and seas, and you must create your own idea as well. This is the structure, this is the essay question, and the answer from the student, from the candidate, is here. First, I will read the writing for you to give you an idea of the answer, and then I will help correct this writing. So here is the full answer from the candidate. To begin with, I hope you can see as well, the text is a bit small. To begin with, pollution and damage to the environment is the most serious and difficult problem for countries of all over the world. Scientists of different countries predict a global eco-catastrophe if people won't change their attitude to our planet. First of all, a huge damage to the environment brings a transport. People can't imagine their living without cars, buses, trains, ships and planes. But it's an open secret that one of the disadvantages of these accustomed things is harmful exhaust. Needless to say that use of environment-friendly engines helps us to save atmosphere from pollution. In addition to our rivers and seas are in not less dangerous situation, it's a fact of common knowledge that numerous factories and plants pour off their waste to ponds. Obviously, that cleaning manufacturing water helps to avoid extinction of ocean residents. Apart from this, I'm inclined to believe that every person can and must contribute to solving this important problem. Doing a little steps for protection our environment every day, we will be able to save our earth, and it's a task of each of us. This level is approximately B2, so it's approximately intermediate level, and you probably have different levels. People watching this lesson have very different levels, so maybe you can identify some mistakes, or maybe you have no idea of possible mistakes here. There are many mistakes and there are many good things as well, so I want to try and correct this for you. First, I have copied and pasted the material here into my text here because I want to make the corrections in my notes. Okay, so let's begin with the correction. To begin with, very good, but probably we need a comma. Okay, so probably we need a comma, and I think that is necessary to have a little pause at the beginning. It's very, very typical to begin with. Comma. Pollution and damage to the environment is the most serious and difficult problem for countries of all over the world. So, not bad, not bad. Pollution and damage to the environment is the subject. Okay, good. The verb is to be, is the most serious and difficult problem. Very good. Serious is the adjective and difficult is the adjective. More serious is the comparative, but here we have the superlative. It's the most serious and the most difficult problem. Good. For countries of all over the world, this is a little necessary to correct. So the best structure is simply all over the world, or maybe second possibility from around the world, or simply around the world. So my correction is of all over is unusual combination. Of all over is a very strange combination. So we must say all over the world, from around the world, or around the world. Or the final possibility is all over the world. So we have different possibilities here, and I think definitely we need a correction. I think we need a little correction compared to the answer. So that's important. Next, scientists of different countries predict a global eco-catastrophe if people won't change their attitude to our planet. Scientist, very good. That's the profession and the person, scientist in the plural, of different countries. Not bad, understandable, but I think we have a translation problem here. So I think the correct answer is from. Scientists from different countries, scientists from different locations, predict a global eco-catastrophe. Excellent vocabulary. I've never heard of this vocabulary before. I needed to check the significance and it's okay. So that looks very, very good. Conditional. If people won't, that's the future. If people will not, and that's okay. The second option is just in the present because it's now. So for me, it's a little more comfortable if people do not change their attitude to our planet now. For me, I think it's necessary, maybe, don't instead of won't. Okay? Because they predict in the present a global catastrophe if people don't change their attitude. I think that's a little bit better. It's difficult to explain, but I think that's better. Okay, terrible explanation. Next, first of all, this is the same instruction as the first sentence, so I think we need a comma here again. First of all, comma, a huge damage to the environment brings a transport. So huge damage, good. Damage to the environment, very good. Brings a transport is singular in this case. However, transport is considered plural. But also I think we need to be a bit more specific here. So a huge damage to the environment brings transport. I'm not sure about this sentence. I think we need to rewrite this sentence and to change this sentence. So a huge damage to the environment brings transport. Maybe is caused by transport. This is one way to write this structure. I don't know exactly what the student wants to say. Is caused by transport. For me, that makes more sense, but I don't know exactly what the student wants to say. So this particular part is a problem for me and a problem for the student because it's not easily understandable. It's not easy to understand. Therefore, this particular part I think is difficult. If you have a suggestion for what you think the student wants to write, you can tell me here, but I'm having difficulty to understand exactly what the student wants to say. And as I said, transport is considered plural, so we need to eliminate a. Definitely eliminate a is caused by transport, number one. People can't imagine, very, very good, no problem. That's the subject and the verb in the negative, in the modal. There, very good, possessive adjective. Living. Okay, so we have the possessive adjective and therefore we probably need a noun. Living is possibly a noun, but it's not typical. The best noun is life in this way. So here we need to write their life singular. If you want to write plural, you simply say lives. Okay, so living their life singular or living their lives. And for me, maybe the second option is possibly a little bit better because it's plural. So for me, that's better. People can't imagine living their lives. Okay, so we have one option. People can't imagine their lives and eliminate living, or people can't imagine living their lives is another possibility in the position before. Okay, so this is a little complicated. I hope you understand my point. So you have two options. People cannot imagine living their lives without cars, or the second option, people can't imagine their lives without cars. So the two of them are absolutely fine, but I hope that you understand my point. Without cars, buses, trains, ships and planes, no problem. But it's an open secret, very good, very comfortable, very fluent, that one of the disadvantage, okay, here we have a little correction, and always I mention this structure. If you are familiar with my lessons, you will hopefully recognize my correction here. This structure, one of, always needs the plural at the end. One of the best days, one of the most interesting books. So this structure typically needs the plural, plural, plural. So that one of the disadvantages is perfect. So we definitely need to change this sentence a little. So one of the disadvantages, one of the biggest disadvantages if you want, of these accustomed things, it's understandable, it's not bad, but there's definitely a better way, a more fluent way to say this. To these everyday things is probably a little bit more fluent instead of accustomed. So I think that's necessary to change that accustomed things. So it's an open secret that one of the disadvantages of these accustomed everyday things is harmful exhaust. Okay, and then you could say this in many different ways to say disadvantaged. You could say drawbacks, negatives, etc. is harmful. Adjective, very good. And exhaust is different. Exhaust is part of the car. The pipe at the end of the car is the exhaust pipe. So you need to be careful and clear here. The car has the exhaust pipe. The exhaust pipe is the tube that emits the pollution. So I think the word that is better here is harmful pollution. You have another possibility. You could say harmful toxins, and that also fits very, very well. Harmful toxins or harmful pollution. So I think that is just a little bit more understandable in my opinion. Repeat again. So an open secret is that one of the disadvantages of these everyday things or everyday, in fact, things is very general. So I would suggest saying everyday modes of transport is more specific because thing is very, very general. So to be more precise, and I think this exam is better when you are more precise, we need to say everyday modes of transport because car, bus, train, ship and planes are everyday modes of transport. Okay, harmful pollution, harmful, definitely we need to change exhaust to pollution or toxins. Needless to say, this is an excellent linker. very appropriate, very formal for an essay, and that's good. So that's fine, but we probably, no, it's good. Needless to say that, do we need a comma? No, I don't think so. I don't think we need a comma. Needless to say that use of the environment friendly engines helps us to say, okay, I understand. So it's a bit difficult to read, but that use of here, I think she or he is confusing. The engine is perfect. It's the noun, the engine. So use of the engines, but I think you want to use the adjective, and adjective friendly. So friendly is good, but this word environment needs to change to the adjective. And the adjective of environment is environmentally friendly. Environmentally friendly engines. For me, that fits much, much better, and it's necessary to change environment because it's the noun to the adjective or the adverb. Environmentally friendly engines helps, or environmental friend. No, it needs to be environmentally friendly engines helps us to save atmosphere. Okay, atmosphere is the noun, and it's a specific atmosphere, so we need to say the atmosphere, and sometimes it's very difficult to know when to put the, because more frequently we eliminate the, more frequently it's necessary to remove the, and in this case it's the opposite. In this case we must include the definite article here, the atmosphere, from pollution, and pollution is correct in this particular sentence. Okay, in addition to this, very good, no problem. Comma, maybe, maybe not, no problem. In addition to this, probably comma. Let's suggest a comma. Our rivers and seas, so that's nice. Our rivers and seas are in not less. Okay, so the subject is our rivers and seas. The verb is to be, good, are in. We typically use the preposition in for danger. You are in danger or you are not in danger. Okay, so in this sentence, I don't understand what the writer or the candidate or the student wants to say. And I'm tired and I've just had my dinner, so I'm not feeling sympathetic. So the student needs to be very clear and very careful, and this is very important. So in your exam, when you write, you should try to be very, very clear. And the less confusion, the better. So here I'm confused and I don't want to be confused. So our rivers and seas are in less, are not in less dangerous situation. It's very complicated. So are not in, let me suggest a second way to write this. Are not in a less dangerous situation. I think that might be the way the writer wants to talk or to explain or express, but there is a better way to say this as well. So in addition to this, our rivers and seas are, we could say, equally in a dangerous situation. So that just cancels the negative. That's one possibility. So for me, that's a little more fluent, perhaps. So we need to be careful with that sentence. I don't understand perfectly a couple of these sentences. It's a fact of common knowledge. It's okay. It's understandable. And at level B2, it's okay, but there's probably a more fluent way. We might say it's a well-known fact, or that's one possibility, or it's common knowledge. That's another possibility. They are two probably a little bit better ways to say the same thing. That numerous factories, very, very good. So numerous is the adjective. I think, in fact, a quantifier, it's known as the quantifier, and it's very good. Factories in the plural, correct spelling. And plants, very good, because a plant is also known as a factory. For example, a nuclear plant. And a plant is maybe a type of factory, so that's correct. Pour off their waste. Phrasal verb, an attempt, a try to create a phrasal verb, and that's good, to try. But it's not super. So the verb to pour is typical with liquid. You pour a coffee, you pour a tea, you pour a drink, water. Pour is typical with the rain as well. It's pouring rain. But in relation to waste and pollution, we have a different verb. We normally say emit, number one, but that's very well known. Emit their waste to ponds, okay? So that's one possibility. Instead of pour off, definitely not pour off, I don't think. That's tricky. So I would suggest emit or transport, which is more intentional, and it's not intentional. Okay, so let's say emit their waste to ponds. And interesting, a pond is a small type of lake. So if that's the case, that's fine. But maybe we could suggest rivers in general, but ponds is a type of lake. It's a small type of lake. And here it's okay, but obviously we could suggest rivers. Rivers is different from a pond. So maybe you could say streams, or maybe even into for more emphasis for the preposition. That's another way to do that. Or ponds or streams, or even to be more precise and better, I would say into the water system, which is more specific and more precise, and I think that's very, very good. Obviously, that cleaning manufacturing water helps to avoid extinction of ocean residents. Understandable, no problem, but a little bit peculiar. So obviously, I'm not sure exactly. Again, so again, I'm not sure what the writer wants to say. What do you think? Obviously, that cleaning manufacturing water helps. So maybe we can eliminate that and maybe put a comma again. Obviously, cleaning, maybe factory water, or adjective is manufactured, or factory water, possibly, helps to avoid extinction of ocean residents. Okay, so this is a bit peculiar as well. Ocean residents is a little strange expression, and avoid extinction is fine, very good. Okay, first, the typical word we might say is ocean inhabitants. These are the people or the fish or the animals, the fish or the sea life that live under the water. They would be the inhabitants, the creatures that live in the water. That's one way to say it. So the other way would maybe be sea life. Seafood is more specific for food, but here we want to say the sea life or the ocean life. For me, they are more common and they're a little bit better than definitely not residents, because resident is for people only. Inhabitants maybe is possible for animals, it's possible for people, it's possible for fish, it's possible for sea life and ocean life. So for me, the last two options are a little bit better, I think. Okay, let's continue. Apart from this, very good. So maybe we need another comma again, and that's the usual structure after these linkers. I'm inclined to believe that's excellent. That's really, really fantastic expression. So a lot of this essay has a lot of excellent expressions, including this one. I'm inclined to believe. This means I tend to believe. My tendency is to believe that every person can and must contribute to solving this important problem. Very, very good. That's a correct sentence in terms of grammar. It seems to be quite good and fluent. Doing a little steps for protecting our environment every day, we will be able to save our earth. Okay, so we have one or two corrections necessary to make here. Step is the noun, and it's very typical with the verb taking. So we normally say taking a few steps or making a few decisions, etc. Taking. Here we have another correction. So we have a, which is usually singular. A step, singular, but the word is in the plural, so we need to eliminate a. Taking little steps for protection. After the preposition for, we normally have the gerund for protecting. So this is one possibility. However, we have many more possibilities that are better. The second possibility would be to protect. So taking little steps to protect our environment is probably better, or taking little steps for protecting. For me, the second option, to protect, is better. Our environment every day will be able. So here there's no connection. There's no connection with the next clause. The next clause is we will be able to save our earth, but there's no connection. So maybe a comma again. Taking little steps to protect our environment every day. No, so we need to connect this much, much better. You could suggest maybe if we take, that will be one possibility because it's the conditional, and therefore you can link the next clause perfectly. We will be able to save. Okay, so that could be needed. The conditional could be needed there. So it's a bit tricky for sure. So it's a little messy, this writing, and it's level B2 exam. So I think this person has just below B2 with some excellent expressions. But I think this student has a lot of errors, maybe just before B2 level. Okay, as you can see, I'm confused a little. So I think the conditional is one way to fix that sentence. The other way is taking little steps to protect our environment will allow us to save. That's another possibility. Will allow us, or will enable us to save our earth. That's another way to write that, to save that sentence. It's very difficult to follow me. I hope you follow me more or less and you understand my corrections. Okay, so in terms of the correction, we have content, communicative achievement, organization, and language. So let me write the criteria. We have content, communicative achievement, organization, and language. Okay, so in my opinion, the content, does the person answer the essay? What do you think? So is the essay related to the question? I'm not sure. So the first paragraph is related to transport. Yes. So the first paragraph is directly related to transport. The second paragraph is directly related to rivers and seas. The third idea, I don't see a third idea very clearly. So I'm not sure about the content. I think maybe, as the examiner said, 3 or 4. But let me see what the examiner said. The examiner said very, very good. The examiner thinks that the person has answered every part of the question. So let's read. All content is relevant to the task. You can see. Okay, all content is relevant to the task. However, the target reader, the teacher, is, in general, on the whole, overall informed, rather than being fully informed. Okay, so the reader is not completely informed. So the writer, the candidate, could improve this writing a little more by maybe mentioning the third idea, which I don't see very clearly. Both numbered points, transport and rivers, are referred to with some discussion of the problems. Good, very good, and some little mention of solutions. So that's clear. The first part and the second part of the question are correct. Here is the same opinion as me. No tangible third aspect of environment damage is discussed. So there's nothing specifically concrete in relation to your own idea, which is important for the question. If you see the question again, the part 3, your own idea, I don't see anything very concrete in the essay related to part 3. The examiner gives 4 from 5. I think the examiner is very generous. So while the writer does conclude with a strong statement of opinion, that strong statement, every person can and must, the reader, the teacher, is not fully informed on the solutions. Okay, so I think that's a 3 and not a 4, but the examiner disagrees. In relation to communicative achievement, if you remember, the communicative achievement. Oh, I've disappeared. Sorry, I'm back. I'm gone. So for me, I'm giving it 3. I'm not feeling good. I'm feeling tired. So I'm going to give the student a 3. Communicative achievement is related to the tone and the register of the candidate. Does the student speak to the target reader correctly in the correct tone? And the correct tone should be formal and academic because it's an essay. And generally, I think yes. I think probably 3. There's no big problem, I don't think. The linkers are very formal, they're very good. But the examiner here says 3, and why? The essay is written in a consistently neutral register and the format is appropriate for the communicative task. So the examiner is happy. Using more formal language to introduce the ideas within the text. So I agree, it's very formal and it's very good. There is a clear essay structure with an opening statement, paragraphs and conclusion, and that's fine. That's more organization. Easy ideas, straightforward ideas are communicated to the target reader, but when more complex ideas are attempted, it's sometimes not easy to understand the complex ideas. So yeah, I agree that it's not easy to understand a lot of the sentences. So yes, that would be in your ability to communicate. So as I said at the beginning, it's difficult to understand some of the sentences. So the mark is 3 here, and I think I would agree with that. So let's agree with that. I think 3. Organization of the essay, no problem, except there's no part 3, and the conclusion for me was not very good. So let's see the examiner. The examiner says the text is generally well organized and coherent, okay, using a variety of linking words and cohesive devices. Yes, cohesive device is a linker. That's another way to say linker, particularly to introduce the ideas throughout the text to begin. Yes, so that was very good, and that is in the category of organization. The essay is clearly organized into paragraphs, and each paragraph discusses a particular idea. The follow-up ideas, the next ideas are not clearly connected, perhaps, they say. For example, they discuss how factories pollute the pond water and then offer a solution which helps ocean residents. Okay, so not very clear. So organization is 3. What do I think? I think, yeah, the same. There's nothing advanced shown. Language was interesting. I think there's lots of mistakes, and there's a couple of very good examples. And a level B2, I would give a level 3, and I think the examiner does the same. So what's the comment of the examiner? There is a range of vocabulary, of everyday vocabulary, normal vocabulary, used correctly and appropriately, with some try to use more sophisticated vocabulary, a global eco-catastrophe, atmosphere, common knowledge, factories and plants. Very good vocabulary sometimes, and then some very poor mistakes as well. So there's a range of simple and more complex grammatical forms, and for example, passive or perfect or conditional. So the examiner thinks that the grammar is good in terms of the verbal tenses, and it does not impede communication. So huge damage, people. Okay. Yes, there's some little mistakes, and yes, there are errors. So I think 3 is fair, and that is a very good example of some writing. Okay, so I hope that helps, and I hope that you understand more or less the explanation. I think it's interesting. Definitely this is interesting, but I would prefer to correct your writing. So please, if you're watching this recorded, if you're watching this live and you're enjoying this lesson and you would like to submit and to send your writing to me to correct, I would love to do that. An essay is possible, or just general writing as well if you wish. So please feel welcome and free to send me some writing regularly to try and correct and show the corrections during the lesson. This will help me a lot, and I think it will be very interesting for everybody. So today is just a little look at one essay. Of course, this book is very, very good, because next we look at the second candidate, a different candidate, and it's the same topic, pollution. I'm not sure if we have time today, so before we begin this topic, I would like to ask you if you have a comment, if you have a question, to please put your comment in the chat. I don't see anything here, so Borak, hello, and thank you for your comment again, and hopefully you're understanding the lesson for sure. So thank you for your comment, thank you for following the lesson. And Borak, if you want to write some English, please send me some writing and I can correct your writing during this lesson next week, and that will be very good for you, very good for us, and very good for everybody watching as well. So you're welcome to send a record or writing to me. Okay, I think that might be sufficient for today. Let's read very, very quickly the next one just to give us an idea. So I think, and I'll make this a little bit bigger so you can see because it's very, very small. Okay. I think that my country has problems with pollution to the environment like all other countries. This problem is normal for Russia. We have big problems with transport because there are too much cars in our country. And because of that, we have problems with atmosphere, air in my city, and all Russia is really dirty. And sometimes I can't make a sigh because it smells around me and of course around the cars on the road. I have heard about tradition of one country. They don't go anywhere by car one day a month or a year. They just use bicycle or their feet. I think it could be very good if we had a tradition like that. So, what about the rivers and seas? Yeah, there are some really good clean rivers and seas where you can go, but there are not many of them. Once I saw the river OB in my city. It was about 2 years ago, but I still remember that in some places it was not blue. It was green or purple, and I didn't really understand because it had different colors. I don't know, what should we do. Maybe we should just open our eyes and look at what we did. But Russian people don't care about the world around them. Many people care only about themselves, and that's all. So the best idea is to look around and try to do something good for our planet and for us and our children. Interesting. So I think it's a little clearer. This essay is a little more understandable than the previous essay. I understand 90% of this essay. The previous essay I understood maybe 80%. So this is definitely better in terms of understanding. I think there is a lot of informal writing here. For example, so for me that's very, very informal and not appropriate for an essay. Yeah is also not appropriate for an essay, and that would be for this section, Communicative Achievement, if you remember. So the grammar is okay. There are many mistakes, many mistakes, little mistakes. And for example, look at this atmosphere. The spelling is necessary to correct the spelling. But for example, here we say a sigh. I can't make a sigh, which is different from a breath, like respiration. A deep breath is different from a sigh. A sigh is when you're frustrated, so maybe I don't think that's correctly used. Interesting. Let me show you. Here is a little correction as well. Too much cars. Too much is typical for uncountable, but cars are countable, so therefore we say too many cars. There are too many cars and not too much cars. Here we need to say the air because it's specific. The air in my city and in all Russia is really dirty, and sometimes I can't make a sigh. I can't breathe because it smells around me, and of course around that cars. Again, cars are plural, so it probably needs to be those cars on the road. I would suggest a cohesive device or a linker in that sentence, so we need to break that sentence a little, and as I said, this needs to be plural, these cars or those cars. I have heard about a tradition, so it needs to be an indefinite article, a tradition of one country. They don't go anywhere by car one day a month or a year. They just use bicycle or their feet. Not bad. I think it could be very good if we had a tradition like that. Good, understandable. So it's a linker, but I would suggest we need something a little bit more formal. What about the rivers and seas? Again, it's a little bit informal. It's not really academic writing. There are some really good and clean rivers and seas where you can go. Okay, not bad, not bad, but there are not many of them. Once I saw the River OB in my city. So again, this is more of a story and it's not really academic writing. So we need to be very careful. It was about 2 years ago, but I still, again, the spelling Still. Remember that in some places it was not blue, it was green or purple. And linker, I didn't really understand because it had different colors. I don't know what should we do or what we should do. Maybe we should just open our eyes and look at preposition, look at what we did. But Russian people don't care about the world around them, and many people care only. So we need another linker. The linkers are very missing here. Even the simple basic linkers like and care about themselves, and that's all. So that needs to be and at the end. So the best idea is to look around and try to do something good for our planet and for us and our children. So the mark is 3333, so very similar to the previous essay. And let's just read the instruction here as well before we finish. Okay, so all content is relevant to the task, but the target reader is generally informed instead of completely informed in relation to the question. The central question, the principal question, has not really been answered. The candidate discusses the environmental impact of the transport and the cleanliness of rivers and provides one suggested solution for the problem of transport. So only one solution. The writer's opinion is clear in I think it could be very good if we had a tradition like that. No solutions are discussed for rivers and seas. So in the question you are asked to give a solution, but in this essay there's no solution for the writing. And no third aspect of environmental damage is provided. So again, like the previous essay, there is no third idea. Interesting. Communicative achievement. The conventions and the techniques and the methods of writing an essay are used. There is an opening statement, an introduction, and development of the content with a conclusion. So that's good. The register, formal, informal, is neutral for most, so it should be neutral. Although the use of colloquial, yeah, as I said, is not consistent with the rest of the essay. This essay is written for the most part in an objective way, but there is a use of personal subjective examples which lessen the impact of the bigger problem. So maybe less personal examples in an essay, and that's interesting. The target reader's attention is maintained, is held, and easy ideas are communicated. I agree. Okay, organization. The text is generally well organized and coherent. It's separated into paragraphs and the punctuation is generally used effectively. Although there are some long sentences, I agree, because we need to have maybe more commas. There's a variety of linking words, because, and, so, because of that, and some cohesive devices such as reference pronouns, relative clauses, and rhetorical questions. So the question was considered okay. The rhetorical question. Okay. Grammar and language. Grammar and vocabulary. There's a range of everyday vocabulary used appropriately, and although there are errors, they do not impede communication. So the spelling of bicycle is also incorrect. There is a variety and a range of simple and more complicated grammar structures, past and present forms, and a good degree of control. So that's an average score for a B2 writing exam. So this book and this document is very good and very interesting because there are lots of examples in this book, and I can continue with this book in the next lessons. But genuinely, I would prefer you, people watching this, people following my page, I would prefer you to write something about your country, about your trips, your travels, your friends, your holiday, your weekend, and I can correct. It's more interesting, I think. So hopefully you can do that and I can correct your writing. Great. That's 2 writings for today, and I think that is enough. It's 3:45. It's almost the end of the day, and thank you. I hope that you had a good day, and I hope that you are enjoying the lessons. And if you have a question, again, you can put the question here. I don't see a question at the moment, so that is fine. And that was the lesson for today, correcting your writing. Remember, I have 23 lessons this week on Facebook Live. It's an incredible amount of lessons and a huge quantity. I hope you can support me. So if you can make a subscription to me with PayPal or the bank, that will help me a lot. And you can see all the information on my Facebook page. And hopefully that will allow me to continue working in this way. If you can, it would be great. Excellent. So thank you so much. Have a good day. Have a good afternoon. And hopefully I will see you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock in the grammar lesson in the morning. Thank you. Have a great day and hopefully talk to you.